what's up, guys? So, today has been one of those days where you just want to throw your computer at the wall. It's Anyways, I have gone through a series of problems. First, my computer died. So, yeah, that means I gotta get that fixed. Then, my laptop wouldn't turn on. So that means I gotta get that fixed. Now, my camera keeps turning off. So it's just been one of those really electronical days that you just you want it all to just die. You know what I mean? Okay, just make sure, I didn't know if it was just me or not. Anyways, this particular time, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I'm actually really familiar with, which is fear, It's a tricky topic. So, yeah, let's get started, shall we? Right, so the thing about fear is it's actually in itself, in its purest version, fear is one of those things that is in just about everybody. Everybody's got a little piece of fear that resides deep down somewhere, whether it be you're afraid of spiders or afraid of snakes, or whether you're afraid of heights or boats or whatever, something that you're afraid of, And for me, a lot of my fears that I have today aren't as overpowering as they were, 5 years ago or something of that nature. I used to be terrified of heights. Terrified. I hated heights. I couldn't handle them. I didn't like them. I wouldn't go anywhere near the Grand Canyon or anywhere high. I didn't even like being on rooftops. It's pretty stellar. But eventually I started asking myself questions about things like, what exactly am I afraid of? What about fear? What is it about fear that makes me afraid of things? And I kept asking myself. So I started doing a lot of studying on the psychological effects and everything that's going on, and it turns out the true definition of fear is chemical imbalance. It's just a lot of chemicals that are being released in your body. ACTH, dopamine, adrenaline, norepinephrine or something like that. There's a huge amount of chemicals that are going on, and those all go and they just cause mayhem. So you get a high heart rate, a high temperature. A lot of things are happening. Your blood and your muscle, or your blood supplies your muscles and everything else with a lot of oxygen and blood. And when that happens, a lot of other things start happening. But fear, in essence, isn't real. We have declared fear as what it is based off of, something that's not true, something that's not exactly accurate. For example, a lot of people I know that I meet are afraid of snakes, reptiles, and I tell them, why are you afraid of them? What about them is it that you're truly afraid of? And they almost never have an educational, legitimate answer or logical. It's crazy. I kept asking myself, what about it? What about fear don't I have control of? So I started doing a lot of reading and things like that, and turns out fear is just a game. It's not real. It's all in our head. Every second of fear is in our head. So when you're 4 inches off the edge of the Grand Canyon and you look down, you're afraid. But afraid of what? Afraid of falling? Afraid of hitting the bottom? Afraid of death? Afraid of what? Realistically, in that particular situation, nothing's happened. You're still standing on the edge. You're still there. You're still alive and breathing. What are you afraid of? Now, granted, if you slipped and fell, now you have a reason to be afraid of something. But on to a less dramatic situation, take my snakes, for example. Everybody I come in contact with I would say 8 out of 10 are petrified of snakes. They're like, no way, no chance, no, not happening. I'm like, why? What about them? Why not? And they're like, well, they're gross, they're slimy, they're this, they're that. Like, they're not gross, they're not slimy, they're actually really, really soft. And I start explaining to them that they're really not as bad as people think, and they're actually a lot more intelligent than people think. And so then they start to question their own moral fears. And it's kind of like, ask yourself what you're really afraid of. What about a snake are you really afraid of? What about a tarantula are you really afraid of? You know? And it's like, I don't understand the concept of fear itself. You know, in the movie with Will Smith and Jaden Smith that I cannot think of at the moment, After Earth, the movie After Earth with Will Smith. I looked it up. Anyways, After Earth, in that movie, Will Smith and Jaden Smith, his son, he asks his dad, he says, how did you not become afraid? Why aren't you afraid? Why don't you feel fear? And his dad responds with, to me, one of the most memorable quotes that I've ever in my lifetime heard, which was, fear isn't real. It's all in your head. Now, danger is very real. If you're at gunpoint and the guy is about to shoot you, that fear is real. It's dangerous. It's not safe to be there. That's real. But until you're put in that situation, fear shouldn't exist. Fear should not be existent. A lot of people are like skydiving. People won't do skydiving. They're like, hey, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling. Yeah, but you got a parachute. Why be afraid if you have the parachute, which is engineered to slow you down and bring you to a safe stop? Everybody's like, well, that parachute could fail. Yes, you're true. That's true. But that's fear manipulating you. That's fear controlling you. It's not happened yet. It's not real. So why give it the upper hand? Why let it tell you what to do? Is it your boss? Does it own you somehow? I'll tell you, with me, I don't let fear control me. It doesn't happen. I used to be afraid of heights. Now I do skydiving, rock climbing, rappelling, cave diving. I used to be afraid of deep waters. Now I do spelunking. Now I do diving. I do free dive. I used to be afraid of snakes, and I was like, what is this? And then all that started to change. Everything about my life started to change. All the things that I was afraid of suddenly became goals. They became something that I reached for, something that I wanted to conquer, because fear isn't real. So, realistically, what is it that you're afraid of? I asked a couple of my friends, and one of them said, what are you afraid of, man? And he's like, death. And I said, death, you're afraid of dying? And he's like, yes. And I said, why are you afraid of dying? He's like, well, I don't know, it's just one of those things. Of course you don't want to die. Of course you don't want to leave your friends and family and mom and dad behind. Of course not. But it's gonna happen, whether you like it or not. It's realistic. That is realistic. That is the only point of view that there is. Eventually, whether you're hit by a car at the age of 15 or whether you die in old age in bed and you don't feel a thing and you die in your sleep, whatever, it's eventually going to happen. So why let it control you? Why let it manipulate you? He never had an answer. He never answered me. He never gave me any kind of proof or evidence as to why fear should control him, why he lets it control him. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have no fears. Of course I have fears. But I don't look at those fears as something to keep me from doing them. I look at those fears to push me to do something more. Recently, I made a decision to do something that I wasn't exactly comfortable with, but I did it anyways. Why? Because I was afraid of it. Not because of anything else. Because I was afraid of doing it, I did it. And that pushed me to want to do it. So, in conclusion, real fear is danger. What we have declared as fear is control. Real fear is danger. Yes, that is true. We know that, but a lot of people they let their fear control them. And that's not the way it should be. You should control your own fear. Push past your fears. Overcome them. Yes, they're scary. Yes, they're not going to be easy. But I can tell you, the moment you overcome your fear, you will feel no greater joy. Because now you can tell yourself, the first time you do it, the first time you overcome your first real fear, you're going to say, you know what, if I can do it once, I can do it again. And from there, the world has an endless amount of opportunities and choices and life's goals. Like I said, I used to be afraid of diving. I used to be afraid of being underwater, but one day I was like, you know what, gotta do it, it's gonna happen, I'm just gonna go for it. And I jumped straight in. I went feet first. And when I got down there, you know, I wasn't very far, but when I was in there, it was nothing but beauty and peace and serenity, and it was so quiet. The only thing you can hear is your breathing and your heart rate. I'm not gonna lie, at first I panicked. At first I splashed and did a lot of waving and stuff like that. But after 20 or 30 seconds, I collected myself and I said, I'm here, I might as well deal with it. And once I did, I looked at that fear in a completely different way. So, from me to you guys, challenge yourself. Put yourself against something. Pick something that you're afraid of, whether it be jumping out of a plane at 15,000 feet, or holding a tarantula, or just do something you're afraid of. Overcome it. Don't let it control you. So anyways, that is today's topic. That is my challenge to you guys. If you guys want to get a hold of me, anything like that, you can hit me up on all of my social medias. They're going to be in the description on the bottom, so you can check that out. And if you have any personal questions, anything you want to ask me, let me know. Bring it up. Put it in the comments. You afraid to speak out loud, speak to the public? Do that. I dare you. I challenge you. So anyways, that's today's topic. Till next time.